I'm getting ready to go to Wisley tomorrow to look at the dahlias for the trials, and it's going to be the hottest day of the year. So I'm mending my hat because I don't want to burn or get a sunstroke. Right, it's the next morning and I am at Wisley. It's Hoppers Day in the morning. We meet at 10, the Dahlia Committee and I, all of us, meet at the trials beds at 10 o'clock. So I've got an hour and a half to have a quick whip around the garden, which is very exciting. Now, I just thought I'd talk to you about what I'm wearing. Fashion icon, me. It's going to be the hottest day of the year. It's going to be, I hate the heat. It's going to be 30 degrees. I know if you're in America, 30 degrees Celsius is like nothing. But anyway, for me, it's a lot. But also the other thing is I'm allergic to suncream. It brings me out in hives. I've never been able to wear suncream. So what I'm wearing is a long sleeved shirt with a high collar. I'm wearing jeans. I'm not wearing flip-flops. I'll burn my feet. If I stand, we stand in the Dahlia, in the trials beds, and it's like a cauldron at the centre of this amazing garden. Very much worth a visit. I'll show you in a minute. So we stand at the bottom, hottest part of the cauldron while we look at the dahlias. And if I were wearing flip-flops, I would burn my feet. So I'm wearing trainers and I mended my hat. This is an exceptional hat. Very, very good airy airflow and shady and just what I need. So I will also arrange to stand with my back to the sun all the time, because that way I won't get too much sun on my head. Obsessive? Mildly. Anyway, I'm not going to wear the hat for the moment because it's only 8:30 in the morning. So I'm going to run around the garden, show you the best of the garden that I can find this morning, and then we will go and have a look at the dahlias. So we come into the back gate, and there are the trials beds. It's great. It's like the perfect flower farm. Let's go and have a look at the rest of the garden, and we'll look at the trials beds later. So you walk along and you immediately start noting the names of plants. Look at this. Hydrangea paniculata Wims Red. Hand for scale. I love this time of day. It's busy. The gardens here are busy, full of staff and little trucks going around collecting and delivering, so that the gardens are perfect when the visitors are allowed in later on this morning. More fantastic hydrangea. Look at this. There's got to be limelight. Bigger flower heads than mine, but more fancy pants. Pruning, that'll be why. Wow, look at that. Enormous. Wisley is famous for lots of things, and partly for these spectacular borders, which, if you love a herbaceous border, how's that for glorious? I'm rubbish at herbaceous borders. They are the hardest work kind of gardening I think that there is, because the fiddle of weeding them and deadheading them and keeping them perfect is really hard. I much prefer growing flowers as though I'm growing a massive vegetable patch in chunks. It makes it very easy for me to weed and manage and see where I am with everything. I think the herbaceous border is an art form. So this is the new research place and teaching hub at the hilltop here at Wisley, and I really like the gardens that were designed by Amory Powell, and they're settling in. They've only been here, I mean, you can feel how new this is up here, but the gardens are really settling in and filling out. And even compared to, if you scroll back through my channel for the last couple of years, you'll see that I've been up here often, and these borders have completely filled out. I love the glow of the evening primrose. Isn't that pretty? The lemon yellow there. And it's this mixture of planting for wildlife, water for wildlife, and of course they've got room up here for swathes, so good swathe action. But I do like this sort of gentle, it's tidy enough, but plenty of interest, plenty of wild. It's lovely, isn't it? Very calm up here with nobody else up here at this time of morning. I like these. Look, this is really clever. It's a wildlife, it's a sort of shape inside of which is lots of dead twigs and things for places for people to lay their eggs and nest over winter. It could be a very fancy airport or small university. I suppose it's more like a small university. And look, it's really good. They're not mowing the lawn too tightly, so there's plenty for pollinators here as well. I love that dark blue agapanthus. And the teasels everywhere are fantastic. I wonder if they weed some of them out so they don't overwhelm. Now, this is one of my favourite things at Wisley, is this series run along sort of on the west side of the stretch of enormous herbaceous border, are a series of kind of garden rooms, and they're grander than they would be. But I always feel like they're very 1950s, and would go, imagine a film. They're very filmic. You can see in comes elegant Grace Kelly from the left, and some elegant gentleman in a beautiful suit, beautifully cut suit, would come in from here, and they'd have some kind of tryst or discuss where the bad guy was. And they are full. I mean, wherever you go, there's something to look at. The planting is everywhere. Look. Busy. Everybody's busy. Of course, they really are. This amazing plant, covered in bees, is called Tigridia pavonia speciosa. Oh, there you go. Much beloved of the local invertebrate population. And behind it, magically survived a miserable spring and all the slugs we've had. This is a Tithonia, which sometimes I grow. I love it. It's such an incredible colour. It's a better orange than you're seeing it on my film. And these lilies must have been incredible. How's this for colour? Really, really bright orangey red echinacea. I've never seen that one before. And as I walk around, I'm beginning to see there are dahlias everywhere. They've avoided the slugs here. I guess this is much sandier soil than we have at Common Farm. We are very wet and very claggy clay. This is hot, dry sand. You see what I mean about being in a film? This could be, I don't know, south of France, Nice. Glamorous people in evening dress. I have a pash for coleus. I put some in the pots outside the back door this year, but they got slugged. Yum, 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 yum. And this persicaria I have, this is red dragon, and I love it. Mine isn't flowering yet, but look. What I love is this very delicate little white flower and these long stems of really dramatic leaf. And they're brilliant for me in late summer and autumnal brides bouquets. Because you can see, look, with this one, see how long the stem is? They hang out of brides bouquets very well. With persicaria, the riper they are, the better, so let them ripen. Otherwise they can be floppy. And then there are roses, 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 more roses. Ooh, look at that mass of white agapanthus. I love being here because my garden, of course, everything's cut all the time. Cut, 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 cut. So you don't get what this looks like, ever. Even if I grew it like this, which I don't. So even if I grew it in mixed borders, which I don't, I never see this mass. The point of my garden is that it's a cut flower garden, so everything gets cut. Wonderful. Crocosmia, this one's Limpopo. They cut brilliantly, Crocosmia, and also the seed heads are really good. This one's a beauty. She's called Champagne Celebration Fry Limbo. That would be a very good colour because she can be yellow, she can be gold, she can be blush, she can be pink, she can be white. She can be anything you want her to be. And you can see how Wisley's in a bowl. So where I came in at the beginning is right over there, and then it dips down and up again. So where the trials beds are is down in the dip here. So you see why I mean that we need shade, and it's like being in the bottom of a cauldron when we're standing there. This is nice in the shade of a copper beech tree. One of the things I really like about a big garden like this is that there's room to have plants massed, so you get real impact from each one. If for those of us with normal sized gardens, and I really only properly garden in pots outside my back door. All the rest of my garden is flower farm, so I never get this massed feel, and it is really impressive. All those heleniums there, and then this gorgeous dahlia. You're getting woomph, broad strokes. And normal gardens don't have room for those broad strokes. It is lovely to be able to see. I love this. This is fun. Look at the glads in this tunnel. And a really sweet mix. It's like a big flower arrangement. Sweet cosmos, white cleome, very thorny to cut. Here's a purple cleome coming. They're good annuals to grow, but I would say for cutting they're very thorny, and I don't like the smell. And look, more romantic water waiting for Grace Kelly or someone similar to appear. This really is like a big flower arrangement. If you were having a wedding, you could make kind of plant, and if it was going to be in your garden, you could make an archway and plant it in time. So for a late July wedding, you could plant glads and cleome and cosmos, and then hold the wedding ceremony here by the sparkly water. So you come out here and you're at the bottom of the incredible borders. And this lovely arrangement goes on the other side. It's fab, isn't it? And this is what I mean about the massing that one wouldn't generally have in one's own garden, because there isn't space, or one wouldn't want to commit a whole area to just have wow factor in a short period of time. But look, I'm assuming that's Annabelle. It's having a good year. The hydrangeas have loved. Here in the UK, we had an incredibly wet winter and wet spring. And the hydrangeas have loved it. Look, they're a little bit sun-kissed. It's hotter here than in where I am in Somerset. It's much more burning. And so they're literally a little bit burnt. But how's that for a stunning display? It is one of those gardens where wherever you go, there's something to look at. Another little south of France moment. And it is quite 50s, isn't it? Doesn't it have a feel of some 1950s? And then this is the old house, which was given to the RHS. With the gardens to be the top RHS garden, the research centre, everything that doesn't go on at Vincent Square, which is like London head office, can be based here. Very attractive. Tidy. My backdoor pots makes me want to go home and rip them all out and start again. And look, little space, little meadow. They'll be trialling what works well. That's a cornfield mix. Coreopsis, Ami majors, poppies. I always think with a mix like this, it would be really helpful if it had a little how we did it signpost, saying what's in the mix, when it was sown, whether they added any sand, how they've watered it, because people sometimes struggle to create instant wildflower meadows like this. This is an annuals mix, a cornfield annuals mix, not perennial wildflower meadow. But it's very effective, isn't it? It's stunning. I think it would be really helpful to have a how to do it yourself little notice. And then in front of the house is this famous watery pond full of water lilies, all carefully labelled. It's fantastic. I love this place. Right, it's 9:30 and I like to be on time. So I'm going to go and have a pee, find somewhere to have a pee, and be ready for the trials meeting at 10. So the trials beds at Wisley, I always think it's a bit wasteful of the space. One possibly in real life would make the beds longer and have a bit less grass to mow. But I think it would make a really good little flower farm. If it were my flower farm, it would be the beds would be a bit narrower. But nice long spacing, well protected by the hedges. Space to move things around. Look at the dahlias. They're ahead of mine. Mine have only just started flowering. I mean, I might get 20 or 30 cut this week, max. They've survived. They've done well. It'd be interesting to see how they've done individually. And they've changed the way they stake them. It's much better. They've staked them individually so they won't fall over. This is Rycroft Jill. Very nice pale orange. Very Very nice. Here's another wildflower mix. Lovely, isn't it? They're not strictly wildflower. It's a sort of cornfield mix. I mean, Cosmos is not a UK native, but is growing very happily in this mix, gives good colour and is good forage for invertebrates. So what's not to like? How's this for a trial? Not my area of expertise on account of not really long enough for reliable cutting, but very good in a pot outside the back door. So I should really have some because I'm so keen on the pots outside the back door. And look at the balayage of colours they have. This is, there you are, some names for you. Loving the Delphiniums trial. Obviously had its first flush, and what the judges will be looking at, they may have finished looking for the season because they will have looked at their first flush probably, or they might come back and have another look, but they will be commenting on things like tendency to mildew, because all of these will have been treated exactly the same way. And I have no doubt they'll come along and go, oh, this one's fantastic. Triton dark blue. It is fantastic. Although it's not very dark blue. Stunning colour. There is something very satisfying about looking at a garden that's so immaculate. I really need to soften my new studio by planting it a bit around it. At the moment it looks very brand new, but I'm very inspired by this incredibly high 5-star shed in the trials beds here at Wisley. And watch me slowly. I will not do anything at a rush on account of I'm doing my job also. But look at that. That's one 5-star shed. Lovely Baptisia trial going on here. Baptisia seems to me to be the plant of the year, or it's the one that keeps catching my eye, which means hold your breath, because soon there will be some in the collection at Common Farm Flowers. Look at this. Never mind flowering. Isn't that lovely foliage? Might be a bit floppy, so you'd have to test it. But I know the flowers are lovely. It's a kind of pea, and would look very good in cut flower arrangement. So it's on my list. And look at the sunflowers trial. Now, this, my experience, I don't grow masses of sunflowers. Some people find them really amazing. I used to grow them and I never used them enough. So I don't anymore. But again, something for everyone. I like these. These are knee-high and they're called Mars. Love this salvia trial. Look, it looks to me as though there are a few that didn't make it through that wet winter. A few gaps here. But that's part of the trial. You're finding out what does well and what doesn't. And here, the blue one, this is my beloved Salvia uglinosa, bog sage, which is an absolute winner in cut flowers. And this real blue late in the summer is unusual, so that's one of the reasons I have it. The blue is look at it with the sky. It's a really proper sky blue, whereas often garden blues are not really blue, they're more lilac. That's one of the reasons people like delphiniums and nigella and this salvia, because they are proper blue, not purple. More annual cornflower mix. Look, so yeah, the Levatra is not an annual, but it's not a native, but it's a fun mix. That is full of colour. Tough year to get that established with the slugs, but I suspect they haven't had the slug problems that everybody else has because they're so dry and sandy. There's a little breeze and I can smell the sweet peas from quite a distance. Now, as a trial, this is fantastic to see how they grow in pots, and it's much more difficult to keep sweet peas going in pots. Were they in the ground? No, they're in ground. They're not in pots, they're in the ground. And they have done well. A lot of people this year, again, because it's been such a sluggy year, have lost, I thought these were pots, obviously wrong, have lost their sweet peas because of the slugs. This is very, very lovely Marseille Riviera series. Look at that dark blue. That's an exceptional colour. And you can see how in this part of the country, in hot southeast England, these are thoroughly going over. And I wonder when they were planted. Again, I think for the general public, I think it'd be really helpful if there was a little sign that said these sweet peas were all sown on such and such a day in such and such a compost, and they were planted out. Oh well, we've got autumn sown. There you are. They are autumn sown sweet peas, which is why they're pretty much over. My autumn sown sweet peas in the polytunnel have been ripped out. Now I'm curious about what this one, it must be a mix. Oh no, it's Miss Wilmot. I wonder if it's supposed to be, it looks as though they've mixed up the seeds. But that is lovely. I love that. Yeah, but I think it would be helpful if they had a whole thing about autumn sown, but also in what kind of compost, when they were planted out. People really struggle with sweet peas, and I think it would be really helpful. So here are the dahlias. Look, very sophisticated watering system. I think it's on. Drip, drip, drip. It's clever. You can unplug it completely, which they will, and put the lid back on. This one, lovely dark foliage. For herbaceous borders, I think absolutely incredible. This is Mountain of Fire. For cutting though, I find dahlias with dark foliage, I don't use them enough. Now you can see here there are a few missing, and again, it's this horrible winter we've had. The gaps are where dahlias have not survived the winter. This one has though, and look, gorgeous, Polventon Phyllis. She's really lighting my fire, and I didn't even notice her last year. Well, I mean, I will have noticed her, but she wasn't singing so strongly to me. This I love. This is Copper Boy. Really good. Really good. Ball shape, very regular, fades well. Nice at all stages. This I like. This is Rycroft, Caroline's Beauty. From Halls of Heaven. Look at this. And now I can't touch her, I can't reach her, but I can see how as she fills out, she's going to be a really good size, good for cutting, useful. The white edge is going to soften the hot colour. It's got a yellow middle and a white edge, so she can be anything. She can be hot or cool depending on your mood. There we go, hand for scale. This very red is called All Directions. Really good size, and actually I think red is a great colour. There's enough tomato in that to stop it being bland. Very important with red, there should be enough tomato to keep it zingy, and then look, there's a bit of cherry in the middle to blue it. So again, it can be anything you want it to be. Lovely long slim stems, very easy, very good for cutting. Here's Corello Raven's Blood Orange, much beloved of the bees. Lovely open shape. And this is another with lovely long slim stems. Dahlia Great Silence from Rose Cottage Plants. Blush, pink, little bit, enough yellow in there to give it a blush feel. Very attractive, good cutting stems. Look at the stem length. Right, time for me to put my hat on. It's very hot on the back of my head already. I've got a bottle of water so I can pour the water into the hat to keep me cool. I've got my long sleeves so I won't burn. and trainers so my feet won't burn. And I'll stand with my back to the sun and hopefully have a very interesting day. Thanks for coming along, everybody, and I'll see you very soon. Right, I better get my serious head on and start thinking. One final thing before I go. I've noticed that in the long grasses and the wilder areas, the RHS has left the ragwort, which was always seen as a pernicious weed, and one was encouraged to rip it up because it's very poisonous when dry and so no longer easily identified to grazing animals. And so historically farmers would rip it out so that it didn't get into the hay and end up in winter forage and kill the horses or the cattle. It is the food source for the cinnabar moth. So you can imagine how after many years of people ripping out the ragwort, there was nothing for the cinnabar moth to live on. And so now we are all encouraged to leave the ragwort. When we see it, make sure it doesn't get into hay, by all means, but leave it so that the cinnabar moth has something to eat. This is clever. There's a tapestry lawn here of low-growing lawn type, and you would mow less often. And they have given instructions and a list of plants. I think that's really, really fantastic. It's very like quite a lot of the grass at Common Farm. If we mow it, looks a bit like that. We haven't got any fancy pants lawn action, but a lot of what the middle looks like. Here at the Dahlia beds, there are things about how to grow, very useful, but also, never mind what the judges think, if you're here at Wisley, you can click on the QR code and choose your favourite Dahlia for the People's Choice Awards. There's a thought.